Good morning. How is everybody? Are you all woo? And we enjoyed last night. Yeah? I had forgotten Africa for a long, long time, that song. It was fantastic and, really brought the vibe up. Okay, I want to start this morning talking a little bit about private partnerships in this particular space. And I want to tell the story this morning of the Instant Network Schools, a partnership between the Vodafone Foundation and about how we can help support the aspirations of refugees. So let's talk about the stats of what's going on with displacement around the world. For the first time in history, 20% increase from the previous year alone. So imagine 1 in 74 people on Earth are forced to flee. And of that number, 40 home. They deserve a childhood. They deserve an education. And they deserve a future just like anyone else. I think the other thing that I found absolutely incredible as a number is that the average time of displacement or anybody can be born and go right through your education and life, living in a camp, in a refugee setting, often located in a very, very remote and isolated area. And children who are living in this situation, 51% of them are out of school. And the access decreases the older they get. So only 6% of refugee children actually achieve a university education, compared to the global average of 34%. And of course, as you can imagine, schools in these refugee settings are crowded, they lack basic infrastructure, training is key. So what does the Instant Network School Program stand for? Why did we as Vodafone Foundation, figure out that this is something we need to do? And that was born of those stats I've just shared and the belief that, and we believe that every boy and girl should have access to quality education. Inclusive approaches for refugees and forcibly displaced children, particularly in developing countries who host the majority of refugees. The digital divides that limit that create a disparity between the genders when it comes to access to digital resources. But more than anything else, we all know in the world today that technology is. Just 5 years ago, it would take forever to make sure your presentation works. Is it going to look like this? We never had screens and things like this. I mean, it is incredible what technology has done and the power it has had, the story and the background, and then I'll emphasize some of the background and the facts thereafter. Vodafone Foundation announced the expansion of this Instant Network Schools, a program that we were going to move from 36 to up to 300 schools by the end of March 2026. Commitment involves $13 million euro cash investment by Vodafone Foundation, as well as Vodafone providing free connectivity. 90% of our contribution as a Vodafone Foundation is going to be a contribution in kind and engagement, and 10% of the cash going to UN students. And so far, as the numbers shared on that video, we have deployed to 93 instant school, 1,800 teachers engaged. Those are the numbers so far we have managed to achieve in this particular program. And why is it improved from this program? We highlight there the places we are, indirect and direct impact across 6 countries where we have deployed this particular programs. This is a partnership. It is a partnership that means numbers are cumulative of what we have been able to achieve through this program. And being a modular approach, sorry, let me go back. Where have I gone? Sorry, I need to go back. Sorry. Quality learning environment with safe buildings, classrooms, sufficient furniture, lighting, fans, and safe storage for the equipment. We make sure we have adequate human resources for lessons, including the coach, because you need the additional staff or reference power so that whatever you're providing actually happens. We provide the reliable, uncapped connectivity or a minimum data allowance of 500 GB per month. There is a quality of the delivery. The network infrastructure has to support offline and online educational content distribution. We then support the content creation, lesson management, the delivery and tools for the teacher, and the devices, of course, to support all that, the activities, the laptops, the tablets, the video and audio, charging stations. All that is part of the infrastructure we support. So a completely modular approach to make sure that that impact can be achieved, and the numbers I shared in that slide continue to grow. So, do we have any stories to share about how this partnership has supported any of these learners? The one of Niel Deng. Niel was a South Sudanese. He was born in Ethiopia, but raised in Kakuma refugee camp in Kenya. Niel went to the instant network schools at Kakuma in northern Kenya, but was granted a scholarship, student award out of 4,000 applications, and received a prize of $100,000, half of which he has invested for a library in Kakuma. So it's really about the paying back. Niel now, there is no better way than seeing and having the ambassadors speak and talk to the power and the impact that some of these partnerships also drive. And Niel, I believe, will be joining the forum, I believe, in Geneva later on this year to again share his story. And I want to share the story of Fugia. And for Fugia's story, she has it on video. So I'll allow us to watch that.
5 years back, I will tell my future self, no matter how hard it gets, I need to do this to make my life be the way I want. My biggest achievement is being able to finish my high school, still go through it. Technology has really empowered me to dream bigger. Even though I was where I want to be, somewhere similar white Scots.
Isn't that inspirational? So with this program, we actually go beyond extracurricular. We go beyond the classroom. With the instant network schools, we also support a wide range of other activities and initiatives using the very, very flexible infrastructure that we have deployed. One of the things that we do is we have the ICT live. I think one of the pictures I shared earlier was the image of sitting with those girls, watching them code and them sharing the stuff that they have created and the power that it gives them. We do language labs and learning for refugees that don't speak the host country's language. There's live virtual reality tours of places like the London Museum. So again, that gives them the inspiration and the power to feel they can travel and they can see what the world looks like. And then we also provide live conferences with Vodafone employees to learn about the different jobs in the tech industry. So that again, you can give them the inspiration. Are just examples about how digital tools can be deployed beyond the classroom to expose refugees and host communities to opportunities, knowledge, and resources needed to navigate today's society. And more than anything, feel a part of the society they're a part of. The program also recognizes the power of introducing STEM education. Yeah, science, technology, possibility is something that we do. And in particular, a focus on tech, because tech is the future. And it's very, very important that that happens as well. So that they start, if they're able to, they can create their own little startups, their own tech startups, even while they're still at the camp. Because again, the next stage of this is I have the education. How am I going to start to earn a livelihood? And we all know now the future of livelihoods, especially for the youth. Tech is the future. Digital tech spaces are the future. Just yesterday, we were having the conversation saying, you are now educated. How do you use that education to create a livelihood? And one of the easiest to actually further earn a livelihood and go beyond where you are. So that's when private sector comes together and helps support an agenda like this. So we can make a difference. We can, and we believe everyone can make a difference. And if anybody, this is an appeal for anybody who wants to make a difference, that is a QR code, technology. We're here to partner, we're here to make a difference, and more than anything else, really believe that everybody, every child of who they can be. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, shall we give another round of applause? Yeah, what a powerful presentation. Patricia, that was really powerful. A very good morning to you. How are you doing today? Are you well? Everything fine? Okay. Now, I'd like to introduce you to our next presentation, and it's going to come from an amazing woman I just met the other day. Her name is Dr. Mazuz Umelher. I hope I've pronounced your name fine.
Good morning, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. So I know now it come to life is about Sheikh Fatima Fund for Women Refugees. And that's, as you see, we are operating around the world where there is refugees and the women in need, a voice calling us. We are there to support the woman and her family. So our vision here is to create an inclusive environment where refugee women have an equal access to opportunity and resources, enable them to live securely with dignity. So our value is to empower collaboration. Our main objective is to raise awareness, to advocate for the policies, to support refugee women and provide service services. All our goals are aligned with UAE Vision 2030 and SDG goals 2015. Also to empower refugees through education and training and rehabilitation. Through our work, we are providing social support to enhance the sustainable of living, addressing physiological well-being and removing the social obstacles, providing knowledge and training to refugee women for sustainability community contribution, promoting innovative teaching methodology, digital literacy and cultural awareness, as well creating a job and entrepreneurship program opportunity, offering a financial literacy program. So as you see, we are covering more health, education, well-being to those coming from innovation, from refugees, from different camps around the world. My scarf is designed by women refugees, and it was then taken to brand companies in UAE, and the fund comes back to her, working on that project. This one, it's recycled one also. It's from one camp, refugees. Also, it's women. So to sustain, and then also we call our partners, our brands, which we are in collaboration with them. And then my shoes, as you see, it's called the Emperor shoes. This is an amazing story. So this is called the Emperor. We are different and we are not different. This is from one girl also. She came up with the idea that she went to another country which she don't know language, but she feels that she belongs to that country. She can do. So we are not different. We can give a lot. And it was also taking this idea through one big company organization for women and girls. From this project we establish a project. The girls have the right to have their own sustainable project, and we make sure that this project is sustainable project for them and for their families. I went also one time in Kakakuma in 2016-17, before Corona. I stayed there for 1 week to 10 days to see the needs of the women there, and we found out that they need healthcare and they need education. So we came up. We decided that time to come and establish a hospital. Then of course, after Corona, it came, we stopped it. But now we are going back again to establish the hospital. In 2019, we kicked off a program. Of course, also, we went to Mbera, we did our case study. We found there is a lot of newborn death. And we found out that the women, they have lack of health and the health services, and there is no midwifery. There is over 40,000 women, and there is only 2 midwives. And we checked with the girls. They said, we want to be in the healthcare, basic midwifery. And then we came up with a program with UNHCR, and we decided to create a program, scholarship program for midwifery in Mbera, for maternity, and create awareness, a mobile clinic in that area. And this program is under construction. We start now to kick off the first step with the Mauritanian government and UNHCR. In Zambia, we did also one marketplace. After the marketplace, what we create a place, a maternity for their kids, to be sure that they are close to their kids. And then we are going to make schools for them. So this is just example I'm sharing with you. We did a lot of and thousands of sport, thousands of hospital, schools in different countries and in different camps around the world. So we are very open. Where there is refugee, we are there to support women. There is come up, I'm here for the one reason, that there is a new competition coming up on December during COP28, refugees, for women who work with refugees and for youth refugees. It's about innovation, telling story and project. And all the competitor and participant, the winners will come back with huge awards and execution of their projects. This is what I can say. So thank you so much for hosting me here, and looking forward to even our platform and part of the to this competition. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Give a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Solutions, solutions, solutions. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Those are very beautiful shoes as well. I wonder if they come in applause again. Brilliant stuff. Next on stage, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be Mariam Hussein.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. Yes, it's an exciting day, and honestly, it has really been an impact. The last few days, we have interacted with most of you, and I'm so delighted to honestly understand there are so many people in this world who are committed, as I am, to ensure, but they are realized as well. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce myself. My name is Mariam Hussein Abdurrahman. I come from Garissa, and Garissa is located in the northern part of the capital city of Kenya, Nairobi. Just like many other cities to grow and thrive. I want them to have people who believe in them. I want entrepreneurs in my community to have resources that they need to solve our most pressing needs. Just for context, the Dadaab refugee complex, it's near its neighboring Somalia border, and it is a house for over 400,000 refugees, and it's one of the largest refugees camps we have in the world, 15. But for me, Garissa, it's home. This is where my family lives, and this is where I raise my 3 loving kids. Ladies and gentlemen, let's quickly paint a picture. What does a thriving community means for you? For me, and so many other people in my community, it's like this is a peaceful society. More than anything, peace is what we desire the most. And it's becoming the foundation for everything else, which includes BizT1, when they opened their offices in Garissa and Dadaab. At that time, I saw an opportunity to grow of investment. I am happy that the decision I made at that time has enabled me to sit on this platform today, where we jointly identify solutions, and not only solutions, but sustainable solutions for the better persons are going through challenges, how the government are not able to sustain displaced persons, and so many other things. For me, I'm always delighted whenever I encounter people who are talking about solutions, solutions, solutions. And what motivates me to do what I do? My answer is always very simple: the lasting impact that we have. Refugee-led organizations in Garissa and Dadaab. This is just part of a larger network of over 60. I can proudly say that we are a trusted partner in the community. I have witnessed transformation of ideas into and invested in them. When I walk in the market, in our markets, I see passion, I see commitment, I see resilience, among the faces of men and women entrepreneurs. I always believe we all have a leadership role that we can serve. To finalize, our theme today is that every problem in this continent has solutions. Enable me see self-reliant people, increased employment and market opportunities, enhanced self-awareness and skills among the people I serve. Our value of purpose shows that we all have solutions within us and just need to find the right one for that particular problem. We are committed and access more opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, at Inkomoko, we are always confident everyone can do something, and it only needs for you to be brave. Thank you.
A round of applause for her again. Absolutely phenomenal. How are you feeling today? Have you recovered from the night before? I'm really happy to have my voice, to be honest, because yesterday... Give me a microphone real quick. Give me a microphone real quick, please. Run. We have about a minute. What's your name? Tell me, where do you come from?
I live in Malawi, but I'm currently based in Ghana, but I'm Rwandese.
Rwandese?
Yes.
Okay. What have you learned from this session so far? What have you picked up from all these sessions yesterday and today?
For me, actually, it's from Wednesday. So I joined the Youth Day, Solutions Day. Yes, so I've learned that our problems can be solved. The ones that we have the solution, like movement problems that refugees have, employment. I've learned that the solutions are within us and that we can work together to come. First of all, my mindset has changed. Second of all, I'm going to inform other people of what I've learned today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for speaking to me.
Thank you.
We are not just talking. This is not a talking shop. This is an opportunity to learn and to connect and listen. I'm being looked at with screens by my colleagues that I'm working with, so I need to move on. The next session is going to be about business and about an idea of where we are, what we're doing. And remember that you can scan and keep those comments coming in, keep those thoughts coming in. We shall look through a few of them later. Thank you.
How are you guys? I was able to see all of you unleash your moves yesterday. I don't know, did we yourselves? My name is Delene Ramiro Yihumutima. I am grateful to be standing in front of you as one of Amahoro's fellows, and also a very good young person trying to make a difference in the society. I lead a refugee-led organization called Solidarity Initiative for Refugees. This is an organization working in the camp to assist young people have access to digital skills. These are the skills that are needed for the future. So I'm trying to solve some of the problems that we have right here. Basically, as a young refugee who was displaced, but not my fault, yeah. So I was displaced. I had the privilege to be an urban refugee when I was growing up before I started to, before I lived in the camp. So my parents came into the country, fleeing the war and genocide that happened in Rwanda, and they first settled in Eldoret. When they settled in Eldoret, my dad was a hard worker, and but at the same time, he had his own initiatives of starting up a business, a chicken farming business. And with his current situation as a refugee, he didn't have the documents that he could go and walk into KCB Bank and ask for a loan. So what did he do? He decided to use his connections and networks of being a teacher and ask for loans among the friends that he had made. So this is one of the things that he was able to do to solve his solutions, to be a chicken farmer. What I'm trying to show you is could enable my father to start his chicken business. What if he was able to get a loan from KCB and go ahead and start his chicken business? Maybe our family would be making a lot of chickens and serving you guys a lot of eggs, but I don't know. So after that, we were forced to go back to the camp when the post-election violence happened in 2007 and 8. Living in the camp was very difficult. It was a difficult life, and we had to regain back to making refugees through financial literacy. The reason for financial literacy is so that they could be able to know how to manage their finances, better harness their business ideas that they have, and then eventually, if they are screened right and they get the good qualifications, they're able to be given the loans. But not everyone is aware of this. There are a lot of myths in the camp that, okay, I will go to Inkomoko, yes, I want a loan, but maybe it's going to stop my resettlement case. If I don't repay, then they will not resettle me to the States. That does not disqualify you from getting other opportunities. So these are some of the solutions that we can be able to come out of if we create more awareness on how to better access these loans. And then there's the fear to invest from the investors, the people who want to finance, because they're afraid if I give my money, the situation in the country is not so good. There's the government who are saying this and that. Will I be able to get back what I've invested from these refugees? And the refugees, of course, have the fear of investing because they're not sure of the future that is after them. Are they going to be able to repay back these loans? And what is it going to take from them? Again, we also have the issues to do with documentation, of course, that have been a challenge for a very long time. But with the Kenyan government and what we had during Solutions Day, maybe if I go to the bank right now and say, I want a loan, they can really recognize my refugee ID and use it to process my documentation types that are there for refugees to access financing, because they have so much potential, so much power. They can be people we can invest in, and they can serve us very well. So the solutions I have, I'm an investment of so many hands, investment of scholarships, investment of different people who believed in me and the potential that I could be able to build a better future for my fellow refugees. And as I stand here today, I am happy to tell you that I mentor a lot of young women in the camps who are not able to go back to the schools because they got pregnant. Of course, they didn't get money to go to university, the better of themselves. And these are the small investments that I'm calling out to you today to invest in us refugees, because we have the solutions and we are able to take it to the next level. In addition, I'd like to ask everyone in the room to leverage the grassroots organizations that are here in the room. There are many of young people who have wonderful, great things they're doing, organizations that they're doing. Can they be able to pass the information to the communities? Can we use the grassroots organization as information centers to educate the communities on how better to go through these processes? Because and lastly, I'd like to thank all of you for this opportunity, and to urge us that when we live this day today, that we're going to actually make a difference in our societies. And it's not just going to be about talk and talk, that we're actually going to be practical.
The next one is UNHCR.
Let's give a round of applause. Next on stage, Luange.
Hi, everyone. I must confess that I've still not recovered from yesterday's activity. Yeah, you can see that from my voice, but I'll try. My name is Luange Akwasiwa Kofi. You'll be wondering why I'm called Kofi. That's my surname, that's my daka. Because someone born on Sunday in Africa is also called Akosia. So we are just one. Why are we separating, kind of putting people aside? You are a refugee, you are not, you are a Ghanaian, you are a Togolese. Let's come together and then achieve something great. Now, let me take you back to my camp. So I came out from my mother's womb and found myself in a refugee camp. It wasn't by choice. Through the help of Daffy, I made it to tertiary, and I'm a proud registered nurse. I'm proud of my profession. Yeah, we are all happy. But I completed school in 2020, and that has been 3 years. I've still not had placement in any hospital in Ghana. Why? Because there are no opportunities for even the citizens. What about me? Okay, so going back to the camp, they became mothers, and I found out that I was the only person that graduated as a lady in that class. So I took it upon myself to empower the young, give them sexual and reproductive health education, speak to the boys, because we can't leave them out, right? Especially Africa. Now, I started my initiative, but here's the issue. I find it difficult accessing funds just because I am a refugee. The credibility is not there. The documentations are not there. If you need funds to carry out an activity, it's really hard. She's unable to go to school, and you want to see her in class. You don't want to see her on the street so that maybe a guy takes advantage of her. But I can't do it all. I'm calling on all private sector persons here, development partners, individuals. Let's come on board. Let's give refugees a shot. We are capable. We can do it. Just like anyone, we are not different. We just found ourselves in this side of the world. We didn't choose it. Now, I have another story. Going back to the camp, we have businesses. I received a picture from him on WhatsApp, and he told me that his farm produce are going waste. Why? Because he's not getting buyers for it. I was sad a bit because I visited the camp and I realized that he was putting a lot of energy into this farming. He doesn't stay home these days. That's wasted energy. I don't think anyone in this room would like to go through that. I'm calling on all partners, private sector. Let's come together, build a connection, a platform where farmers in these refugee camps can sell their produce so that it doesn't go waste. In a way, we are also empowering them. Before we step out of this room today, can we pledge that we are going to create a platform to access funds, to scale up their businesses, and also be independent and take care of their families? Can we do that? Can we do that? But the community, the host community at large, are we ready to do that? Okay, it's on record, so we are going to change the narrative. Thank you so much. Just to add that I am a fellow from the Amahoro Coalition, a proud one, and I can't wait to embark on this journey. Thank you so much.
Why can I not hear myself? Okay, there I am. Luange, I just want you to go back on stage for a second. You made a call to action. Let's set up this thing. How does it look like? What are you envisioning exactly?
Yeah, my vision is to give quality education to refugee girls.
Hold on.
Yeah.
You've come up with a solution. You've suggested that we create this thing before we leave. Before we get out of here. What would you like to see created?
First of all, let's create a platform for farmers in the refugee camps where they can sell their produce. How do you
create a platform like that? Who knows how to create a platform like that? What does it look like? What are you seeing in your head?
I'm seeing private investors maybe creating a channel where they look for buyers for the refugees so that their produce don't go away. So there's a channel where you pick the produce from the farm to the consumers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody have an idea how to achieve that? Yes, sir. Yeah, briefly, literally 5 words before I get fired. So these are very perishable.
So someone can set up mini factories there and then pick up the produce from there.
Where will the money come from? Who has money to set up a mini factory at a refugee camp like that? I think these are, we are trying to find practical solutions. We're not going to waste time having conversations that are pointless here. Who's there? Yes, please, ma'am. Very briefly, please. 30 words from you, please.
Okay, to get food distribution centers so that by the time the produce are coming out, they already have people who will buy it and people who will sell it.
Okay, so listen, she's working with refugees as well.
Okay.
Do you want to have a conversation with her?
Sure.
This man here knows everybody who has money. And he's a brilliant strategist. Okay. And I think next time we meet, let's not talk about something like this because we'll have found a solution to it. I'm really serious about it. Like, you have an idea, right?
Yes.
And it's a brilliant idea. And it's one that will be transformative. If people don't put money into that, then they're not serious.
Yeah.
They're absolutely not serious. Let's move on. Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
Thank you. Akasiwa Coffee.
The one.
Akasiwa Coffee is not here? Okay, fine. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to watch this video. You're going to go to the panel now.
Thank you very much. I'm really glad to be participating on this program, though virtually. My desire was to be with you physically, but unfortunately circumstances could not allow. Equity Group operates in 6 countries: Kenya, South Sudan, Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, and DRC. These refugees have existed for over 30, 40 years. So they've become part and parcel of our society. Equity is partnering with UNHCR on the basis of our purpose. And we realized the surest way of integrating our refugees with host communities is to build programs for them beyond the social safety net payments. We've been able to process safety net payments of up to 220, but we realized for sustainability and to support the 3-pronged initiative of either repatriating refugees back to their countries, helping them to settle in the host countries, or to find alternative homes in other countries, we could make significant contribution as a private sector. The issue of refugees is too big to be left to governments, to our banking activities. Provide them savings, provide them payments, provide them loans, and enhance their capacity through financial training and entrepreneurship. We have worked closely with the UNHCR to establish mechanisms, one of recognition of refugees by the host countries so that we can have appropriate documentation. We have used biometric capabilities for identifying them. We've worked very closely with IFC to provide us with the credit risk sharing guarantees, and that has enabled us to use the cash flows of social payment to provide loans to refugees. And this has enabled them to settle and integrate within the host communities by embracing the economic activities of the host communities. In addition to that, Equity Group Foundation, with the support of UNHCR, we have been able to provide scholarships to refugee children in the camps for their secondary education. This year, we are targeting 3,000 for host communities, and we have seen 250 of our agents in refugee camps owned by refugees, and that truly gives them a sense of taking a long-term view of life. Integration in economic activities give them a mechanism of earning a decent life without being dependent on philanthropists. Programs like access to education would make sure that the next generation of children of refugees have better access to health will be central. And I'm glad Equity Bank has been able to set an Equity Afya in Kakuma refugee camps to ensure the provision of quality, affordable health services to refugees. The ability to use to refugees, the ability to use credit risk sharing guarantees from partners like IFC allows the quantum of loan to increase substantially, and that then becomes a mechanism of integration. On account of our purpose of giving dignity and changing lives and expanding opportunities.
All right, let's give Equity Managing Director and Founder James Mwangi a round of applause. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite Haley Kumblum from IKEA Foundation. I'd also like to invite Makena Moria from Inkomoko and Lev Plavs from Kiva.
Hello. I'm assuming everyone is a bit better off since last night, but it's been a real pleasure being here in this forum. We have a few minutes to share about, I know Olive and Mariam have talked about how as an organization, we are about building thriving communities in Africa, especially in the 4 countries that we're operating in. But we've had an 11-year period, and we've managed through supporting refugee entrepreneurs, providing them business support, direct financing, market linkages, and advocacy. And to date, we have deployed over $13 million in investments, and goes, out of all this, we've had a repayment rate of 98%. What a story to tell about refugee entrepreneurs, about the business case of investing in these entrepreneurs. But we've not done it alone. We did it with the support and the belief of IKEA Foundation, with Kiva, who initially gave us the initial funding to test out this case and also to deploy the capital. And we've worked with UNHCR to ensure that we are serve the communities within our countries. We are working now with Mastercard Foundation, with Amahoro. So it is a partnership and it's a solution, but it's one solution. I know we're talking about many solutions. That's one collective, powerful solution that we're doing. Makes sense. I want to talk not just about the power of one solution, but the power of Innocent. Innocent, please stand up. I want to tell Innocent's story. And he has given me permission to talk about him. Innocent fled Burundi in 2013 to the cottage industry. So in 2015, now to date, he has developed 16 different soap-making products, whether it's disinfectant. Innocent, we were lucky enough to meet him in 2019 as Inkomoko, and we gave him a $3,000 loan so that he could get some working capital, he could improve his equipment so that it's not handmade, so that he's able to meet market demands in Kakuma. To date, Innocent has his family, his wife and kids, his staff, 17 host community. Innocent has tripled his income revenue over the last few years. Innocent has mentored women, and Innocent has grown in terms of not just providing soaps and his products to the schools in Kakuma, government agencies, UN agencies, partners, but also Innocent during COVID offered free soap and disinfectant to the elderly. He has served over 20,000 clients. That is the power of Innocent. So As I close, I just want to tell you about the power of one solution and the power of innocent. So if you're going to use this in your thesis, please reach out to us. What if we, as partners, supported 1 million in time? That will mean 50 million women and youth will be mentored. That will mean trillions and millions of products developed, manufactured, sold. That means multiple communities, governments, agencies will all get services. That's the innocent multiplier. That is the power of one solution and the power of innocent, because innocent represents every refugee, every displaced person, and every person who has not had the opportunity to be suctioned. Let us be and realize the innocent multiplier. Thank you very much.
Thank you, McKenna, and thanks for sharing Innocent's story as well. Hello, everybody. My name is Lev, and I am here with Kiva. Can I get a quick show of hands of who's heard of Kiva before? And keep those hands up if you've made a loan on Kiva before. Great. Well, hopefully by the end of today or this weekend, those numbers will go up. For those who aren't familiar, and it's really fitting being here just after the platform, the largest crowdfunding platform for social good, and we are a website that anyone can visit, browse profiles of entrepreneurs all over the world, and lend as little as $25 to an... No surprise, I'm here to talk about what we're specifically doing in the refugee space, which started in 2015 and 2006. Refugees might have limited credit history, refugees don't have proper identification that most banks or microfinance institutions accept, and so that has left the refugee population as one of the most financially excluded in the world today. And so that's really where we came in, and we felt we had a role to play in 2016. Start piloting refugees with a lot of really strong partners on the ground, such as Inkomoko. And what we've seen today now, with $33 million that we've lent to refugees, to over 30,000 across the world, in addition to Africa and the Middle East and Latin America, is very similar to what we've seen with Inkomoko, a 97% repayment rate. So that learning from Inkomoko is not just the case in the countries we've talked about here, but it's the case globally. And so I think the first message I want to send is that if you have a credit card, go onto the Kiva website, find a refugee, make a $25 loan. If you are in the private sector and want to support loans to refugees, we have great impact of that loan to the refugee. And most importantly, if you are a refugee, I've heard some incredible business ideas. Come find someone from Inkomoko or come talk to me and figure out how we can get your loan crowdfunded on the Kiva platform as well. So I want to end, it's a number, we've talked a lot about what numbers mean, and for us, it's been an incredibly important proof of concept that refugees are not only viable investments, but it makes sense to invest in refugees. So in 2021, we launched Kiva's first private investment vehicle, which is called the Kiva Refugee Investment Fund, moving beyond our crowdfunding platform and bringing in private investment capital at the scale of $32 million, specifically to further invest in refugee financial inclusion around the world. This is Kiva's first for impact and a financial return, demonstrating that you can actually make private investments, private capital, and have a return as well in the refugee space. So happy to talk more about that. I know we're short on time here, but the last thing I want to end up, and he said, I want to be seen as an entrepreneur and not as a refugee. And I think that's a real theme that we've heard over the last couple of days. Refugees is not what characterizes someone. It describes what happened to somebody. But refugees are entrepreneurs and small business owners. And this 97%, thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Haley, and I'm from the IKEA Foundation. And I think I'm probably just going to repeat a lot of what you heard, but from a different actor in this space since 2010 or earlier. So I think it's fair to say that we have, well, certainly over a decade, is that there are thriving informal markets everywhere. And I think that the tagline, at least, that I feel this private sector forum could have, which is something I'm going to repeat probably over and over again in my 3.5 minutes, is it just makes sense. And I think I wanted to share a story as well. I know there have been a lot of stories today, and there have been success stories and also stories of people struggling. And that has really made me realize a bit about the role of philanthropy in all of this and, well, how we can't do it alone. In April this year, I was in Chiriandongo refugee settlement in Uganda. And I was observing a focus group with, I don't think I will ever forget this woman. She was so strong and brave and persevering through, I think, all of the kinds of challenges that, that Lev mentioned that refugees go through in these circumstances. And her and the group of women that she works with own and run a bakery, 2 farms, and a hairdressing salon. And they have no access to finance. Now imagine, it just makes sense. So that's at least where there was a bit of a penny dropping moment for me about access to finance. And we do, at the IKEA Foundation, we do try to support organizations like Inkomoko, giving out loans to refugees. But it's made me realize that it's not enough. It's a bit of a drop in the ocean compared to the 100 million people that are facing displacement today. And we need to do more. And philanthropy cannot do it alone. And so that brings me a bit to my call to action today to the rest of the private sectors to say, we need, or have not done it already, that the perception of risk in the refugee settlements and camps is nowhere near what the actual risk is. That makes sense. So to give you a few examples of what the IKEA Foundation is doing in the space, in case anybody from the private sector here would like to talk about how you can de-risk investments you want to make, we have a number of instruments that we're trying to pilot to a refugee investment facility, making loans to larger sized businesses working in the settlements and displacement affected communities in Uganda. And we have also worked on a blended finance instrument with a number of actors. This is over $5 million that comes together with the private sector as well to help with entrepreneurship and employment for refugees and host community. So I just share these to give you a sense that there is stuff going on that you would like to try out. Come and speak to me afterwards. I'm here all day. Thank you.
A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much to the 3 of you. And right now, to do something else? Like sing a song, perhaps? Let's give them a round of applause as they walk off stage. Pastor James Wood.
Distinguished brothers and sisters, we greet you with the greeting of peace by saying in my tradition, Assalamu alaikum.
Peace be to these people, and if there is peace, they will, your greetings will be returned to you. Today, we are talking about 44 million people in the continent of Africa. That is a humongous number. All because somebody somewhere say, or an environmental challenge, ecologically induced challenge, has moved them from where they ought to be to where they don't need to be. We, as former militias, we have caused people to move when we were participating in violence against one another, where I lost. We now work together as twins, the imam and the pastor.
And that shows to you the purpose of our journey and the importance attached to the journey in place many communities in Nigeria. Here we are talking about the central part of Nigeria, marching towards the north central, the northeast, and the northwest of part of Nigeria, where as a result of our actions and inaction, we're able to cause a lot of pains and displacement in the name of protecting our religious values.
Yes. Africa is the most religious continent in the world. And you can actually market anything in Africa using religion. That caused this problem that is engulfing the whole continent of Africa.
Distinguished brothers and sisters, Africa is a continent that has a long history of generosity, a generosity that serves as home for many people in diaspora. Many people have come to Africa for succor. Today, Christianity and Islam wouldn't have been in existence if not for the hospitality of Africa that hosts the infancy Muhammad community, the first Muslim community. They were saved as refugees
when he was displaced as a baby Jesus. So Jesus is an African IDP or refugee. He came to Nigeria. He came to Africa, to to Egypt, when he was being persecuted. Similarly,
this we can go on and on and on, nowhere but Africa first and foremost. And the African king welcomed him and even gave him his daughter, the Princess Hajara, and together.
And he moved his people away as refugees who were working under a strenuous condition. The situation many refugees have found themselves, our prophets and mentors have passed through this kind of challenge.
As I am, because you are. That spirit, that culture of taking the whole village to rear a child, that culture of honor that say, my ghost, that stranger will not be persecuted in my own presence. It is my honor to protect the stranger. Why do we throw it away?
And that's why today we want to use dialogue, faith-based dialogue, faith-based strategy that we tagged divine intimidation strategy, invoking divinity to get compliance. This is what we want to express. This is what we want to share as faith people, having solution. It's just like the African answer. Africa has an answer for African solution in an African way. Just give us the plan.
In the northeastern part of Kenya, the Rift Valley specifically, we went there as African, talking to fellow Africans, the Kikiyus and the Kalenjins, who have murdered each other seriously because of that unfortunate political situation. We're able to work together. Peace are restored to this community. So religious leaders, we can do it because we are the heartbeat, the soul, and the compass, the moral and spiritual authority of the larger community of Africans. They trusted us so much, and many of us, we drive them the other way.
Our every weekday for Imam, he invites people, call people to prayer. And for me, I do it also in some periods where people come to churches and mosques and get inspired. That platform is what we want to cash on, to see that will address the issue we are talking about today.
And not only that alone, we want you to know that it's not new for Muslims for us to talk to the imams. It has been, Islam is built, the history, the journey, migration, hijrah. We talk about migration pattern of refugees from Mecca to Medina. Not only that alone, from Mecca to Medina, the journey of being an Ansar or Muhajirun is a metaphor. The Ansar and Muhajirun is a metaphor of the refugees coming in and the host community welcoming them. The Medina, who are the Ansar, they welcome the Meccans, open the door of their home. They are compassionate heart, their businesses, their everything. They share together with these refugees who come in. If today, every Muslim community, I'm not talking of Christian community, every Muslim community will open their doors, as Muhammad had done to them in Medina. What Africa, zero refugee will we have in Africa? The ability. And my professors, the other imams are here, they will do the same. Imam Fuad is there. They will tell you more about this when they come on board.
However, as a saying in the Beatitude, blessed are those who keep their presentation short, for they shall be invited again. But however, to say the least is that in Matthew chapter 25, from verse 41, Christ will say, "Depart. When I was naked, you didn't clothe me.
When I'm hungry,
you didn't feed me." And then depart you into a dark place where there will be gnashing of teeth and wailing. However, if you have done the other way, You will be welcome. So I challenge you, Christ, help a refugee. Do something today. And let the philanthropists among us, our leaders back home, who are listening, we will also get to them. We have leaders, religious community leaders that have money. We'll go to them and knock and say, now bring this money, let's save these guys so that you can go to heaven.
Thank you very much. And with this, we come to the end to say, as my brother have said, the Quran chapter 9 verse 6, Quran 59 verse 9, these are reference point for any Muslim to say, indeed, the future. Thank you very much.
Shukran.
Let's give them a really, really huge round of applause. Ms. Najiba Hassan, who is the co-chair of African Women of Faith Network and also board member, African Council of...
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you all. Shalom. Praise the Lord. Thank you. You know, it's very hard to speak after all the passionate people, the young people with all the energies I've spoken, but I'll try my best. I'm going to talk about the interfaith or interreligious issues of internally displaced persons and refugees. When you're talking about interfaith or label, which is very hard, but it has happened. They're very big movements that have happened long since 1970. Religion for Peace being the oldest movement. We have other networks like the United Religions Initiative. We have Arigato International. We have Faith to Act Peace. Let me work on that because I'm a member. And I'm standing here on that heart, with that heart. We have Religion for Peace in over 100 countries in the 6 regions or the 6 continents. In Africa, we have the African Council of Religious Leaders. And we religious leaders, it can intentionally eliminate women and youth from that space. So I'm going to use religious leaders, actors, and communities so that it's inclusive and affiliate to Religions for Peace. If you come down to a specific country, let's look at Uganda. We have the Interreligious Council of Uganda that has 7 religions forming the Interreligious Council, and Muslims making 12%. So we have for all the other 5 other religions. But Africa is a faith continent. 80 or 90% of the people believe or affiliate to a religion. Now, religions have presence. A crisis, we are there even when UN lives in the community. So that can be used to prevent, to respond, and to transform. We are still trusted as religious community and follow that. So we have the power also to mobilize and influence and implement. And this was seen also during COVID, the pandemic, and people were not taking the vaccine until the religious leaders told them, take it. And then they took it. So we have the power to influence and implement. As the religious leaders shared here that we have a platform, permanent. They're not invited, but they come every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's a space, it's an audience, the prophetic voice and the shepherd voice. The prophetic voice speaks to authority.
And they can use it to influence policies, to change policies, to advocate for new, different issues. The shepherd voice is used for the constituencies, and still we can share a lot through being shared out to different peoples and communities, but they're working with refugees. UNHCR formed the Multi-Religious Council, backed up with our teachings and traditions. And we don't have to wait for trouble. We don't have to wait for a crisis. We can use our power, our influence, our trust, unpack the current policies, especially for religious leaders, so that we speak the same language. We advocate for the same issues. We offer space. Thank you so much.
Thank you, wherever they know, wherever they dada nyabo. Yeah, that's me thanking her very much in a language she understands. How are you feeling? Are you okay? Everything fine? Okay. The Sikh community is a leader and CEO of IPMC in Ghana.
Whom we address as Vaheguru. It means praise the Lord, Hallelujah, or Allahu Akbar. Us every day, including the beautiful life He has given us this morning. I must firstly mention and I must commend the excellent delivery given by my fellow brothers, the pastor and the... Sikhism was born about 500 years ago in the early 1500s. Our founder was our first guru, Guru Nanak. We had 10 gurus over a period of 2 institutionalized. So the first question which can come to anyone's mind is that every religion has refugees, about the injustice, about the oppression they go through. 1500 before Christ, 1500 years BC. And Sikhism was born in 1500 AD. India was invaded repeatedly by foreign rulers every few decades. Free was taken for granted by the Indian population. The concept of freedom did not exist. The atrocities which the rulers of that time were inflicting on the local population, all the local population around him called him a crazy man because they had never seen the need that if Indians need to be liberated, it is their mindset which needs to be worked upon. And it took 10 generations of religious leaders, whom we call gurus, over a period of 200 years to liberate the minds of the Indian community and finally oust those foreign rulers and finish their rule, which happened in the middle 1700s. Meaning is student. A Sikh is supposed to be a lifelong learner. As a result, the literacy rate among the Sikhs is one of the highest. Kings are born out of women. It is important for any society to enable and empower women, because it is women who create that society. Regard to the women folk, and they are given that high respect which they deserve. I wanted to, and it has the temple, the Golden Temple, but due to some technical difficulties, we couldn't get it. Oh yes, we have it here. So the Golden Temple actually explains what Sikhism stands for. It's a temple surrounded by water from all sides. It only has one single entrance, which shows that all of us, we come from one single source. And when we come into this world, we spread all over. We go into various need for people from all over to come and get together in one place, which is the temple of humanity, and sit together and worship together and eat together as Sikhs welcome people from all denominations to come inside the temple through the 4 doors in the 4 directions. Sikhs are also mandated. These doors are not one way only for coming in, but Sikhs are asked that empathy for peoples and cultures all over the world. I often relate the understanding of refugees, and I use the acronym DEAD, D-E-A-D, to define who they are. The first letter D means being discriminated. That is due to their race, due to their tribe, due to their religion, and go through violence or conflict before they are our humanity, one human race, equality of gender, equality of color, equality of people of all cultures. The next letter E is for exploitation. Symbols which Sikhs wear, and I cannot explain all of them, but one of them is the Kara, is the iron bangle, which stands, you will see any slave picture, and he has an iron bangle of slavery, a sign of suppression, of exploitation. Our Guru gave this symbol to us. You will never become a slave, you will never get exploited, and you will never exploit anybody else, because exploiting the fellow human in any of ours. The next letter, A, access. For refugees to access their basic necessities, whether it is food, shelter, but specifically education, whether they are refugees or not. The last letter being D for displacement. It is easy to say that refugees get displaced, but understanding what during the Civil War, when all my businesses got destroyed over there, I did not feel that much, because the rebellion and the army were fighting in my area, and I left my home, my house, my residence, and when the next day I came to know that my house got looted, that day I cried. Because home is where we gather ourselves, each one of us. And when this home is taken away, it breaks the entire identity of the person. Displacement is the biggest curse which we can cause to our fellow humans. And it is when we see these refugees, this is the first thing which we like home. It is in this respect, I would like to give my commitment that as IPMC, which some of you may know, the IPMC group, we are one of the largest IT conglomerates in West Africa. We have a group of other businesses as well. And from my side, since I come from the experience that anywhere refugees are there in Africa, IPMC is with them with the IT lecturers, with the IT teachers, enable and empower them, and also wherever it is possible, IPMC has earlier been employing.
Let's give him another very loud round of applause. Abdul Latif Esaje, he is a distinguished vice chairperson of Jamia Mosque in Nairobi, which is the largest mosque in Eastern Central Africa. and is also ex officio of the Council of Muslim Scholars of Jamia Mosque in Nairobi. Let's give him a round of applause.
Solomon, Moses, John, Jesus, and Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon them all. And I say to you, Assalamu alaikum. My elder, Sheikh Abdullah Abdi, has been kind enough to give me the permission to start, but no problem. In Islam, every person who is facing persecution in a land has a right, not only a right, but is under obligation to migrate from that land. The host community is under duty to provide protection to those who are under persecution. And this is embedded in our host. Was not the earth of God sufficient for you to flee? Was not the earth, God's earth, enough for you to flee? And the Ansar. And he said this is a metaphor. The Muhajirin are those who migrate. The Ansar are those who are the saviors, those who are the protectors, those who provide, instructed us as Muslims by saying, help your brother who is being persecuted and help the one who is also persecuting. And the companions asked the Holy Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him, we understand who is persecuting, and the Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him, said, stop him from persecution. Omar Naim, yesterday, when walking up the stage, he had a chorus. Hurriya, Salam, Adala. It was peace and justice. I was with him yesterday and said, my humble advice is for you to change the order. Start with Adala, then peace, and then Hurriya. Justice, peace, and freedom. Because there cannot be peace without justice. There has to be justice, and then people enjoy peace, and then they also have freedom. In the Quran, as I said earlier, the person religious duty to provide sanctuary to that person irrespective of the faith of that person, irrespective of the religion of that person. And God says in the Holy Quran, and I read the translation, if any of the disbelievers seeks your protection, then grant him protection. Yes, please. Please. I think I'll be comfortable having him with me here.
And the plan is... Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So if any one of the disbelievers seeks protection, then grant him protection and then escort him to where he will feel secure. That is a divine command by God to Muslims. And this is because in Islam, Muhajirin, I feel very uncomfortable calling them refugees. Because the word Muhajirin carries with it dignity also. So in Islam, the Muhajirin are respected as human beings. And this is because Islam believes in universal brotherhood across mankind. Amardeep, I can't see him, I don't know where he's sat. Yes, please. He talked of this. In the Quran, God says, and allow me to read in Arabic, Ya ayyuhan nas, all mankind. So God is not addressing the Muslims, but he says, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. All mankind. So God starts on the platform of equality, of tribes and nations, لِتَعَارَفُوا, so that you may know one another. Actually, the scholars talk of ta'arafu, so that you may do good to one another. So, inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. The Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him, commanded Muslims to look for those who are vulnerable. Commanded Muslims to look for those who have provisions because of your care of the vulnerable. So as Muslims, if we wish to be blessed by God, we need to take care of the vulnerable. Lastly, I can see Shad is warning me of time. Lastly, as Muslims, we need to rekindle, we need to reignite, we need to remind our faithful that it is an individual, personal, divine responsibility of also taking care of the muhajirin, and that.
My dear brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum. Many religious leaders have come here. They have addressed you. They have given you the. We have had a lot of stories about pain. We have also had a lot of stories about success. We felt the pain and we celebrated the success. But what is the bottom, the actual factors that cause this? Displacement and refugees are caused by conflicts, instability, caused by mainly politics, but in some cases by climate and resource competition. I happen to come from the northern part of the country, which has earlier we border Ethiopia, and I'm a Somali by ethnicity, a community that has been split up into 5 different countries by the colonial powers. But one thing we have in common in the Horn of Africa is instability. The instability caused by conflicts and a lot of natural factors, mainly because of drought. So we live with both in northern Kenya. At a particular time, we have a problem of hundreds of thousands of refugees coming in from Somalia to Kenya. But we also have a drought when hundreds of thousands were in camps because they don't have anything to live on. So we go through all these things. What is the answer to these things? From a religious point of view, the third pillar in Islam is to give, is called zakat. If a Muslim does not pay zakat, his faith is in question. The percentage in terms of cash is 2.5% contribution, 2.5% of your assets after every year. If the Muslims, which they have, 2.5% of only the Middle Eastern Muslims will be enough to sort out all the global problems, right or wrong? Unfortunately, within the country, not only in terms of refugees and displaced persons, but in terms of the poor also within our society. Giving is part of the human DNA. Giving is part of the human DNA. And I can give you a very simple example. Both me and my brother, the professor, happened to be working very in northern Kenya. By the time we got there, the previous night, there is movement of nomads who came and camped near the refugee camp because they didn't have anything to eat. It was moving to hear that what happened that night. The refugees themselves, I'm being told I'm time bad, so I have to close quickly. So the refugees, they fed the children of the drought victims who are there. So this is in part of the DNA. What I want to appeal to each and every one of us here is the DNA is in us, but the commitment comes from our willpower. Can we, each one of us, commit that from today onwards, we are going to further promote the will in us that actually we are going to stand up with the displaced people and the refugees within our society. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Thank you.
That is very, very inspiring. And the last person you had speak there is Sheikh, Independent Advisors for Peace Building Infrastructure for Kenya. The comments are coming in, and I saw someone who said that it is absolutely brilliant that religious leaders are involved in this conversation. And I remember Nancy saying as well that one of the most important contributors to what she does with religious leaders. So really, really important that we've had those words of wisdom from such distinguished people. Let's give them another round of applause. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to have Akwol de Mabior, Valerie Obaze, unless it's Obeys, and Julian Euler. And the conversation they'll be having to not only showcase the beauty and diversity of their countries, but also create a positive impact on the displacement space. Okay, now if you want coffee, grab it. You can take a walk outside and get it. It won't be a hard break this time. Sorry guys, what are you doing? All right, Reverend, where are you? Let me just have a quick. You've had a chance to listen to what the religious leaders have said. What have you picked up from all of it?
Well, actually, I just want to appreciate all my fathers for all they've said. So it won't be ideal for me to come up again and then repeat all. But all what we are trying to say, just saying it, but going back and then give proposals to every organization to find ourselves that indeed there is need to generate funds to help this commission. And that is it.
Tell me a little bit about your work. What do you do?
I'm a youth pastor in Methodist Church in Nigeria. And also I organize empowerment program for young people. And I've been sent down to this place from Emmanuel Chapel to see how we can extend our welfare in times of the refugees. That we did during
What are you doing at the moment?
I'm a full-time priest.
I know, but what are you doing with the refugees? What are you doing with the young people? How are they participating?
We started actually in 2020 during the COVID year, in which we extended our pact at times with what we have given unto them from the church, and then most of them, due to the training we give to them, they run that at the camp.
What about resource mobilization? Are you able to put money together? Because money is important, right?
That's what I said. Emmanuel Chapel, through Professor Koin Solajayi, we've been able to raise funds, and we now have a foundation. But due to this program now...
Bring that check.
No, not really.
Bring that naira.
No. What
Bring that money.
The moment you have trust, and then you are loyal to people, what happens is that church members, they respond. You don't need to do that.
Okay, listen, Reverend, thank you. Again, if you want to grab a coffee, now is a good time for you to do that.
Some mornings, my mother shares her dreams and fears with me. She started doing it right after my father died. It doesn't feel like that long ago.
Yeah, but it has been long. He was 15 in July.
My parents have been at the center of a liberation struggle. That means they've never simply belonged to me. They never simply belonged.
كلام ده مهم كلا نكود العائلة ده بجم بفترة على كان ما نطرد العدو.
On the morning of July 31st, of Sudan, becoming the second most powerful person in the country.
Liberation struggles belong to our forefathers. My own father. We imagine and remember different versions of him, transform him into the hero we can't be. He is our Father who art in heaven. What about our mother who is here?
I pray hard, my daughter, to see, while I'm still alive, a prosperous nation. And that's how I wanted to leave my children. I didn't want to leave them in a country where people are divided into pieces, even to their own core.
I started filming our morning conversations, just as everything.
To Her Excellency Rebecca Nyandeng Demabior.
I, Rebecca Nyandeng Demabior,
Do hereby swear by Almighty God.
do hereby swear by Almighty God.
My mother's dreams. So many bitter questions. How did we win the war, win our freedom, and then lose everything?
Well, thank you, everyone. Good morning. I am so happy to be here on the stage with two incredible. It's your documentary about your family. How does it feel to see that on this stage, knowing that all that it means?
Thank you. And thank you, everybody. Thank you for inviting me here. I really appreciate the focus on storytelling. So I wanted to show the trailer so that if I speak about the film, you know a little bit at least about what we were trying to explore in the film. So yeah, storytelling, I think, and telling our own stories or stories about our families, about looking for solutions, is people telling their own stories. So it feels good to be able to tell my own story.
So this documentary that you have, No Simple Way Home, it sort of reflects on what being South Sudanese means to you. So because we didn't watch the whole film, what does being South Sudanese mean to you?
So I think up to now it's still a question. So a theme and question of the film was, what does it mean to call a place home that you were not born or raised in? So that's my experience. So you are raised with this strong identity of being South Sudanese, but you don't have a strong connection to the place. So that was one of the themes that we were exploring, and just so young, so we get forgotten all the time because independence is considered 2011. A lot of people are confused about the difference between Sudan and South Sudan. So what does it mean to be South Sudanese also when we only recently started calling ourselves South Sudanese? And I feel like it's a collective conversation. The other thing about being South Sudanese is that we have a massive, grew up in different places and far-flung places. So in 2011, everybody comes back with a sense of hope and a sense of patriotism, a sense of, you know, I am South Sudanese, I'm going back to my country. But they come back with different ideas of it that are informed by the many different places that they grew up. You know, will bring us to, I don't want to call it answers, but will bring us to a sense of what being South Sudanese means.
So thank you for that. So we have on stage here two people who you guys just met about 45 seconds ago, right, at the steps here. But, and Akwal, you're South Sudanese, Valerie, you're Ghanaian, and you consider...
Absolutely.
And so you too had said almost the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, what does it mean to go home to a place that you had never been?
Yeah.
So what was that like for you?
For me, the slightly different... Coming back was a constant thing in my family. I would come during the summer holidays or for Christmas. My grandmother lived here and I had family members that were here, so we were constantly coming on holiday. My mum's side of the family especially is very close to each other, so they'd always want to spend time together. And although many of us were living in the UK, coming home was very important for us. So it was, I've always regarded it as home, regardless of me being in England.
That's interesting that you say that Accra to England isn't very far, but we heard last night from one of our speakers that, you know, he said that the farthest distance is actually between the head and the heart.
Right.
And it isn't about kilometers distance, but sort of perspective.
Absolutely.
Right? And Akwal, when was the first time, did you go back to South Sudan quite a lot, or how was that going home?
We did, but it was a border town that my mom said, and so it was important for my parents that we have some sense of South Sudan. But I think that was the least that they could do, and we would spend school holidays there. So that was.
So one of the things that we've been talking about for the last 3 days is the concept of changing narratives and what it means to tell your own story. And, you know, it's very clear, Akwal, that in your documentary that is a vehicle for changing narratives and telling your own story. But Valerie, you've gone a different route to tell your own story, and you've done that through entrepreneurship. So why entrepreneurship as a way of changing narrative?
Telling and also owning a narrative, because genuinely I'm learning as I go. It's one step at a time. Everything that I do as an entrepreneur, I'm learning with every single day. So it's a narrative that is truly authentic to me. And having been in the diaspora, learned, studied, worked, owned a business, moved back to the continent, I have learned so much, and I'm constantly learning. So I think it was very important to see things. Initially, I would see things through the eyes of a diasporan or a returnee, so to speak. But instead, with more time spent here, I'm seeing things more through the eyes of the indigenous person who's never left and may never actually leave. What do they need? What are their needs? What is going to change the narrative? And I think that you have a lot of people on the outside telling us the African narrative or the Ghanaian narrative, but not many people from the inside doing that. So in terms of entrepreneurship and what we do, especially working in the industry of shea butter, we didn't make the narrative up. It's been out there. There are large pharmaceutical companies that use shea butter in their products, and they've been telling the narrative of the shea woman. They even have the branding, the women in shea, you know, shea women. And it's been great in raising, and I think that that's what's been missing. And naturally, through what I do, we've been filling that gap and telling that story and fulfilling that narrative. And I didn't set out to do that, but it's part and parcel of what I do.
So one of the things that we were talking about earlier is how you identify, right? And there's so many ways that we can identify you as an entrepreneur, you as a mom, you as a Ghanaian, but you also use the word
cheeky of me to identify as a returnee because I'd never actually lived here until now, well, until this past decade. But only me being in Ghana, being Ghanaian was inside me. So if I'd meet people in school and they'd say, "Where are you from?" I'm Ghanaian instantly. And that's just always been my heart. Like you said, distance is not necessarily kilometers. It's what's in your head and what's in your heart. And I've always been Ghanaian. So being able to be here and tell my story and learn my story as well as I go along has been, so I guess that's what I am.
Well, I think, home is a word that we've used also quite a bit. And how does one define home? Right? There's sort of a way that you can take that power of how you define that. And one of the other things, that you said earlier is, why you wanted to be an entrepreneur was that it allowed you a sense of independence. Akwal, how do you take your own independence? Is that through storytelling?
Yes, and even the act of telling a story, I think, helps us process what's happening to us. So conversations, it creates interactions. You can't tell a story in isolation or in a vacuum. You need people to. It makes us come together, and I think it also for those who saw the trailer, I think this intergenerational conversation between my mother and I, or between mothers and daughters, for example, it allows us to process things really well, and the fact that it changes for everybody. I feel like everybody's definition of home has an evolution. Stories allow us to get rid of silence. They allow us to. For me, it allowed me to ask my mom questions that I wouldn't ordinarily ask her. So yeah, a sense of independence, yes.
Do you prefer to be behind the camera or in front of the camera?
I prefer to be behind the camera, yes.
Thank you for being in front of the camera today. So I'm going to ask you both the same question, and I'll start Valerie with you first. So both of you ladies have people in your family who went into politics and saw that politics was a way to impact into politics. Why was entrepreneurship, starting a business, why was that your vehicle of impact?
I think purpose in life is important, and I don't think my father's purpose will ultimately be mine. And I am an entrepreneur, and the more I see, the even less I want to go into politics. So entrepreneurship is definitely my platform for making impact. I've always been very much about independence, creating opportunities, how to look after yourself. And once you're able to look after yourself, how can you share that knowledge with others so that they can also be self-sufficient? And I think that entrepreneurship is the vehicle for that. When I first became an entrepreneur in maybe 2008, it was as a PR and marketing consultant. And for me, at the time, I just felt that working for somebody else, the opportunity of working for myself, and I've never gone back to work for anybody since then. And I saw the impact being here of how many jobs that I could create, how many lives that I could impact. And
how many lives? Seasonally?
Well, seasonally, I mean, our company full work in the sheer industry, and during the season, that could be up to 3,000 women. And what we need to understand, and what we've set out to understand, is what it is that these women need to be able to have a comfortable life. And that's not about handouts, that's about finding out what is it that they're doing, what they could be doing better, and what will change the future of them and the generations that come after them. We're still learning. We by no means have the blueprint, but the more time we spend in the industry, the more that we're learning, and the more that we're, being intentional about how we can change the lives of those that are at that end of the supply.
The economy.
The economy, creating a finished product, not coming in, swooping in and buying all of the raw material and exporting it at a very low price, which doesn't affect the local economy. For me, growth, impacting that in a way that I know how to do, and that is to do business and, growing the economy that way, not through the social side. I think, although social is part of it at the end of the day, but I'd rather create businesses.
Well, on behalf of all of us who use your products, thank you.
Thank you for using them.
Your parents were for so many others. But you also haven't chosen the same path that they did to impact. Why not?
I think that there's few who, and one of the worst reasons would be because my parent is, I feel, I think my father was called to it, and my mother very reluctantly. And I just, I'm not called to it. It's not something that I could do.
And what are you called to?
It allows you to share and bring people in and learn from people. So I feel like I'm called to storytelling, definitely not called to politics. And I feel like people who are not called to politics should stay away from it.
We all have limited choice, right? We can't do everything, so why not?
I think we should embrace our limitations.
Yes, absolutely, thank you. So final question, and I'm gonna start with you, Akwal. One of the things that's very interesting is that it's called to storytelling. But one of the things when we were talking about you speaking today, you said, I don't storyteller and having a very public channel for storytelling, but not wanting to speak on behalf of a nation, right?
I think that I see it generally that the idea that somebody can be represented specifically in a South Sudanese context where our identities are fragmented, so if somebody were to come in and say, I'm speaking on behalf of South Sudanese women, I think we should really challenge that idea generally. I know definitely that my experience is not representative of South Sudanese women, so I don't want to stand up and make that claim. But I think that generally we should question the claim, and we should be okay in terms of it being challenging to then tell stories that people might see as representative or want to see as representative. I think what we need at the same time, so the fact that this is a story about one person that in some way many people can relate to, and to just have many stories from South Sudan, something that happens when we rely too much on, we don't need another story from, we did that last year, because we're too fixed on the idea of representation in a way that can it can be good. I don't want to bash it completely. I think the best thing is to have many stories.
And final question to you, maybe going home if they can, and seeing entrepreneurship as the first step into that life. Good idea, bad idea?
100% good idea.
Okay. 100% good idea. Why?
Because in the same way, it's storytelling in its own way. There's so many opportunities in our continent to develop our continent. We can't forever be the forgotten continent, the continent that is still developing, and it's going to require us to do the development. So if we come along hoping that something will just pop up, you know, you may get disappointed. So you'll come, you'll see, especially if you've had the opportunity to live outside of these borders, you'll probably have something to bring. So if you can share that and find an audience that they're trying to do, so join a team that you resonate with, look at the community around you, what do they need, how can you fix that problem, how can you go ahead and do it?
Ladies, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your stories.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for choosing to be with us.
Thank you for wanting to hear from us.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Lord. Hello everyone, my name is Hisham, I'm from Egypt. I believe I'm the only one from Egypt in this event, but I don't feel lonely because I feel that I'm between brothers and sisters. And when I say between brothers and sisters, I really mean it. I'm not sure, yes. So I feel like I'm in my second home here. And I would like to say thank you for all your great hospitality. I'm here today to represent Mate 51, and for those who don't know, like it, I hope you like the small gifts inside it. Okay, okay. Well, I think you should be applauding all the artisans that we are working with, so they're all refugee artisans all around the world. And let me tell you the story of Mate 51. So Mate 51 started as a project by UNHCR in 2007. Market, A for access, D for design, and E for empowerment. And 51 is related to the Refugee Convention in 19, working all under. So if you look at the name, you will understand the concept behind the brand. So the first thing is that we are targeting to have market access for the products that the refugees are making. And this is very important because when you ask any artisan, what is your main problem? They will tell you, marketing. We cannot do marketing and we cannot sell our products. So the main thing was to do market access for the products. Design. We are focusing on high quality design products. And the E is for empowerment because again, we have to do it with an ethical way, and we have to empower the refugees that we are working with. So that's the name, and that's what we believe in at Mate 51. When you, maybe some people will say, okay, but helping them to source the raw material, do all the, produce the products, do the branding, packaging, quality control, and then find buyers for their products. No one is exploited.
we have these different layers. So we have a Mate 51 team who is based in Geneva in other different countries. And then we have a council that is yearly elected from the social enterprises themselves. And then we have all the group of social enterprises who are working with the refugees. And with this business model, we make sure that everything is audited and everything is done ethically and according to fair trade principles. Since 2017, we have managed to work with big brand names like Uniqlo, who has been working with us for the last 3 years. Chloe also did a huge order with us. And let me tell you about Chloe. They worked with the group. And because of that order from Chloe, this number increased from 100 to 800 in 6 months. So this will show you the importance of trading and helping artisans to sell their products in the different markets. Let me give you some quick figures. I always say that numbers speak for themselves. So we have the figures from 2022, out of which 85% are women, and approximately 16,000 children benefited from increased family income. So that's 2022, and we anticipate that 2023, the numbers will be higher and higher. Thank you. We also sold or exported products around $755,000 of products made by refugees. The latest figures from 20 plus 3 local agents. This is when sometimes we cannot find social enterprises in one country, so we deal with local agents in 23 countries around the world. Thank you. So what we are pledging for? We started our pledge back in June in the House of Lords in London, UK, and goes as follows. That we will have, or we will aim for 15 million US dollars of refugee-made product orders over the next 4 years, and 9 million USD in direct funding to support economic inclusion of refugees. All this will not be possible if we will not get your support. So please, we are asking for your support, helping us with the pledge. And as I'm always saying, buy the products that the refugees are making because you feel sorry for them. Actually, we are proud of our artisans because they're artisans. They're doing beautiful products. We are helping them to make their products better and better. So what we are asking for is that we need a part of your business. Please consider us as your future supplier who has been audited by a big brand like Mate 51. Give us a part of your orders. The more orders we have, the more sustainable income we will give to our artisans, and the more we will be able to grow our network bigger and bigger, more artisans, more refugee artisans in more countries. Finally, a side note from seeing everyone happy and dancing, I was just thinking, okay, we are talking about solutions for refugees, but I'm always troubled that how can we stop people to become refugees? And maybe yesterday it just hit me when I saw everyone dancing And I thought that maybe the world now needs less of politicians and more musicians. Thank you.
How are you all doing today? If you want me to whisper, I can also whisper. My name is Aparupa Chakravarti, and it is an absolute pleasure to be here with all of you today. I understand that I'm probably the only thing standing between you and your lunch, so I'm going to try to make this session as interactive and as engaging as possible, which is code for I'm going to be putting all of you to work, so be ready. Today, we're going to be talking about philanthropic giving in Africa, for Africans and by Africans. We're going to be grounding this conversation in a case study in order to give us an opportunity to think together, to problem solve together a couple of points. Thank you. Oh, there we go. Technology is not one of my strong suits. First of all, the needs and the opportunities on this continent are very real. And if they are to be met effectively, but also of this wonderful forum that has brought all of us here together today. Second of all, the barriers to giving in Africa are very tangible and multifaceted, and asymmetries to policies and legislation, to geopolitics, you name it. But the barriers are also intangible. They include things like trust, or the lack thereof. They include things like giving fatigue, maybe even apathy. In Africa at scale, don't forget this emotional component. Because at the end of the day, giving is first and foremost rooted in a sense of community and connection. In the absence of that, giving becomes just another transaction, and that defeats the purpose. Paradox that's playing out on the African continent today. On the one hand, Africa's development and humanitarian landscape is ostensibly facing a very significant funding crisis. In order to meet the Sustainable Development Goals, we have an annual funding gap of over $2 trillion. Overseas development assistance is declining, down 8% as of last year. Debts, 90% of infrastructure investments in sub-Saharan Africa are actually paid by African governments. And across the region, there's an average deficit of 4% in public budgets, from non-African sources going towards non-African entities. So when it comes to African NGOs, African development organizations, African entities who are working in these spaces across the continent, and only 14% of them receive funding from non-Africans. So where's the money go? We don't lack money or resources. There's an estimated of over $2 trillion of private wealth in Africa. And this doesn't even include remittances from the diaspora, which were over 52% increase in African millionaires. Dollar millionaires, I might add. An overestimate because this is not it's a relatively old figure, but the best one we have at the moment. So against this backdrop, in order to help consolidate this slightly topsy-turvy funding and financial landscape. And that is what we're here to talk about today. I think the gentleman before me said something about this not being about charity. This is about charity, but looking at it have a view to real long-term lasting impact. So on that note, allow me to introduce you to Wambui. This is our case study today. So, Wambui is a 38-year-old Kenyan woman born and raised in Nairobi. You'll have to forgive me. I know we're in Accra, but I live in Nairobi, and all my examples tend to veer towards Kenya, and has been back in Kenya for the past 7 years, building a very promising career. Wambui, like most of her friends and family, is very active in her community. She volunteers pervasive and mounting development challenges beyond her immediate environment. In Kenya, in East Africa, the continent at large. War breaks out next door, and Wambui decides she wants to help. There's money to be spared from various sources, and she has seen this firsthand. Companies with CSR budgets, religious groups, NGOs and charities, and of course, her own friends and her own family who are either middle class, if not wealthy. Wambui leverages her network and resources to launch a multi-pronged campaign. She speaks on local. Her efforts create a lot of buzz and a lot of hype, and she manages to raise a lot of money. But she realizes that only 15% of all of that money is actually from local sources, which has been the target of her campaigns from the beginning. And although Wambui is, of course, elated by the amounts of funds received and is looking So for the purposes of this conversation, we're going to be looking at two questions. What happened? Everything was in place for Wambui to raise money within Kenya from local networks within the region to support a local cause. Why didn't they show up? And then second of all, what would you do? Well, to some of you. So what would you do? This is where I put you to work. We're going to start with an individual reflection. I know it says 10 minutes on the slide, but we're going to cap it to maybe 5 to 7, because I'd like for you guys to spend about why Wambui was not able to raise the money from her local networks ecosystem. And as we talked about this, barriers to giving in Africa are manifold. And they're very tangible and they're very concrete. That's one. The second is, what might have been the shortcomings of Wambui's camp? Sure that we are not divorcing our conversations from this important but intangible component. What were the intangible barriers to giving? Chaos in this room, but you guys can figure this out amongst yourself, but if you can huddle in groups of 4 to 5 with people around you, we're going to do a little bit of a brainstorming exercise where you're going to take all of the ideas that each of you came together individually with, and you're going to prioritize maybe 3 to 5 maximum in terms of what do you think were the most important barriers. And you're going to know that things don't happen in isolation, and there's always interdependencies between different things. And then you're going to think about what you might have done differently. After that, we're going to hear from you guys to see what you came up with. I'm going to pause here and see if there are any questions or reflections. We'll have that slide up for you guys so you can refer to it. Other questions? Comments? Clear as mud? Cool. In that case, happy reflecting. I'll be your timekeeper, so around the 5-minute mark. Can we go back to the previous slide? Not this one. Perfect. Hi, everyone. I can already see some people start to huddle, which is excellent. So I'm going to give you guys a chance to keep doing that. For those of you who are not yet part of the group and are still brainstorming by yourselves, this is now your opportunity to stretch your legs, take a walk, and find someone to group yourselves with. So please do so now. Hi, everyone. I can see some very interesting debates have been going on, and so would someone like to volunteer to present what you discussed with your group and what some of your major takeaways were?
Yeah, so our group came up with one big one, and I think reading at the situation, we felt that there's a high dependency ratio, that it's not that people are not giving because they don't have money. It's because in Africa we're dealing with other economic challenges that has made us, like there's just so much that people are depending on. Even for those that have money, it is not a point of asking people to give you money. I think we need to empower people to a level where they can have so that they're able to contribute, to be able to add. And my team here actually made a point that if you're to go to the rural area today and ask them to give you money to drill a borehole, Perhaps this is something that they cannot because they're actually dealing with other economic issues. But if you are able to come up with a way to find the money and drill a borehole, support them to go to school, and they get education, they get jobs, then next time when you come, they'll be able to have that money to be able to contribute. In our group, we felt that the 15% is actually good, but we need to support more of that way of contribution to the same. The other one is very small. It's the idea of thinking about that there is someone else that's supposed to take that responsibility. In the context of something that's affecting us, and you need to deal with it as a collective. So those are the two main points that came from one team.
Thank you so much. That's fantastic. And the second point you raised is actually not a small point. I think it's actually a very important point because it's a point that faces all common.
I think just to build on some of the things that Jean-Marie's group talked about, we also thought 15% was pretty decent. But I think a big thing was around partnerships. That was one of the biggest things that we talked about, is that, you know, she's an individual, there's the element of trust, there's the element of companies giving to individuals who don't have a track record of working in these areas, saying we have a partner church in that country, you know, we're gonna work through that. So being able to work with other organizations or people working and being willing to give that money in that sense.
Absolutely, thank you. One here and then back there.
Yes, but we saw that there was a problem. So in their statements, it was only about she. So that tells us the importance of involving other people at the local level. So let's speak about if she could have involved leaders at the local level, because even if she went at the radio station, if she could have involved leaders to see that actually this is our problem and we are the ones to come up with the solutions. Therefore, there could have been more resources coming at the local level.
That's a great point. Thank you. Community buy-in, community engagement, local leadership. Thank you.
Hello. We came up with these answers. There could be lack of language packaging. Maybe she didn't know how to explain to the natives what exactly she was fundraising for, and lack of trust within the communities to believe in what exactly she was going to do, whether she would deliver. And also, I couldn't outcompete the donations that was coming from outside. Thank you very much.
Right. So, the issue of trust and recognition for her brand is something we identify to be perhaps the reason why she struggled. Weeks back, the east coast of our country got inundated with spillage of water from our hydroelectric dam, and communities completely got submerged. And then the people, because there's limitation on the side of government because of the scale of the challenge. And what we noticed was that people trust known platforms. Like, it will amaze you to know the quantum of resources that was pumped, virtually left in the hands of these stations. Because people believe, first, there was a mention of when they donate, they'll be recognized, number one. And they also want to believe that the funds will be put to good use. So recognition of the platform is number one, and also the trust that the resources they will put into the hands of the individual or the organization will be put to good use. So if she had connected, perhaps, like somebody have mentioned about churches, it could be community advocacy groups that are known over a period. If she has mobilized on their platform, because for the international actors, we believe they give because, first and foremost, on a prima facie basis, they know that there's a problem to which she was mobilizing for, and they want to trust because perhaps she was using available infrastructures of the internet and everything else to mobilize. And we think this is some of the dynamics that play out. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we have time for one more comment. I think the gentleman here had raised his hand. And then the lady, thank you.
Okay, thank you. A lot has been mentioned, but I will emphasize on this dependency mindset. Most of the time in Africa, we think that local firms or companies, most of the time they don't have the budget for CSR simply because they feel that maybe they are being overtaxed, all those kinds of issues, those charges, extra charges that come, you think twice, you know? Something else, the last point is the lack of, we are sitting here, but I haven't seen Al Jazeera here, I haven't seen BBC, although we have Alan, but I'm not sure if he's on behalf of BBC.
Last but not least. Excuse me.
Yes, so just to add to what has been said, so we also came up with the idea of sort of like the policies, like the regular, allowing people to donate in other ways apart from funds, you know, material or otherwise, donate their time and service. And also that the war, I think it needed to be grounded.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your engagement and participation and insights today. We're out of time, but I would like to conclude by leaving you with 4 questions for you to ponder on as you continue with your day, as you go into the weekend. Should be the role of African philanthropy in addressing the continent's most pressing developmental and humanitarian needs. The second is going back to our intangible barriers. How do we win hearts and minds to encourage people to give and to continue to give in the face of numerous and sometimes protracted challenges and crises? The third is, and this speaks to the funding landscape. And the fourth is, how do we cultivate trust in African? And the last thing that I will say, which is not on this slide, but just to reiterate something I said at the beginning of this discussion today, is that this is not a theoretical exercise. There are Wambuis in this room, there are Wambuis outside, seemingly insurmountable barriers to do so. But if I've seen anything in the
happening. Not today. So, I am so happy to be here. We are in the final session. We're in the final session. You guys have almost made it. We started out the forum this year talking about solutions, right? For the problems that we face on this continent. People who have been affected by displacement, people who are actively living in areas that had solutions for their own problems. And that is something that is so important to remember. It's so important to remember because when we started this forum a year and a half ago, there were 36 million forcibly displaced people in Africa, and 44 million forcibly displaced persons in Africa just 18 months later. And while it would be really optimistic for me to say, and we have 44 million solutions, we actually want the number of solutions to go up. And for my best guess, the next time we meet together, there will be even more. And so the solutions that were talked about in Kigali need to be bigger. And the solutions that young people need to build on each other. And so the solutions that we all come together collectively close by reflecting on something that my colleague Miriam said earlier today, is that the solutions that we have are all within us. We just need to be brave. And at Inkomoko, one of our values is bravery, and we believe
that the brave rise together. And over the last 3 days, we have been rising together. And we need to keep doing that. And we actually have some very practical and very specific ways that we will rise together that have come out of.
Can we cue the video, please?
Hi, my name is Italo Pakoit. I'm the CEO of M-Pesa Africa. We operate in 7 markets across the continent, and we are the largest fintech and digital ecosystem on the continent. Today, it's an exciting day for us, and especially examples of this society that has been left out is the visually impaired, and how do visually impaired persons living within our society access financial services. So we're doing quite a lot in terms of interactive voice recognition. We launched a Dot Braille watch and a Dot Braille tablet that can help ensure that they're not financially excluded. The second, as I mentioned, M-Pesa is for all, and we should not exclude any part of the society. And refugees are part of our society, and we are really excited with our partnership with UNHCR World Food Program to ensure that refugees have access to financial services. This is that they're able to make communication, they're able to send money, they're able to receive money, and they're able to live with dignity like all of us. And that's why this is such an important project, and we're excited to partner and ensure that M-Pesa is for all.
All right. The largest telecom company in East Africa committing to the providing a solution to the conversation we're having. And I think we're so honored to have all these amazing conversations, but more importantly, we also wanted to highlight that have been made this week, actually, middle stage, not center. I won't read them all out, but we're gonna scroll a few just for you to get a sense of some of the examples of pledges that were made this week. But please understand that we're going to come looking for you. Seriously, yeah? You should ask the folks who committed in 2021 in Kigali. We are relentless. We're going to come looking for you because we love you, because we think you're great. But you need to honor your commitment if you made one. Because it's extremely important that as we have these conversations, that or we email you, or we come to your office looking for you, it's not because we are trying to be annoying, it's because we just want to make sure that you follow through with your word. Especially because the commitments you're making affect the lives of people in situations that they didn't create for themselves. They just ended up there, and it wasn't their fault. And if you're gonna make a commitment to do something about it, please do it. Please do it. It's extremely important, because if you don't, everything we've done for the next 3 days, over the last 3 days, and everything we keep doing becomes just another talk shop. And all of you are gonna go say, they came to Accra and they just hung out and listening to Sarkodie and whatever. But you are all part of the issue. So if you've made a commitment, you're part of the solution. So, thank you for the commitments. There's more we can do. There's more we can do, and there's more that we're going to do. Over the next couple of months or so, we're going to be talking quite a bit about coming up with things, and we'll share that as it comes out. Secondly, on Wednesday, during Solutions Day, we had amazing solutions that came from the leaders who were in the room over the Fitzgerald. And what we're going to do with that is that we're going to create a Solutions Act, a package of solutions that we're going to share with everyone. And so if you feel called, or you suddenly, what we don't want to do is we don't want to work with a lot of high level of fragmentation. We live on the solutions, we're going to share the solutions. Let's find ways to partner, collaborate, not just with us, but with each other. Because the magic that needs to happen has to happen with everyone, not just with the 3 organizations here. We've started, we were working together. But it'll be beautiful to see at the next forum that someone says, you know what, we met in Kigali, we met in Accra, and as a result of that, we can do on the stage. So I highly encourage you that as you come up with solutions, as we share the information with you, please find ways to partner, find ways to collaborate. We reach out, we're happy to share people's contacts with their permission, of course. And we'll find ways to find, we are going to follow up. We are going to make sure that people follow through. If you want to talk to any one of us about making a commitment, making a pledge, I've talked to people outside who just said, look, I want to help. I don't know what to do. What can I do? People have said to me, I'm a professor. I want to teach. How can I help? Please keep sharing those, and we'll do our best to make sure we honor it. And
if you're not going to include the rest. And so it is my job to give the vote of thanks. And my first thanks is going to go to refugees, all the young people that are here in the room. Could you please stand up? All our refugees, good to see you. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for sharing your solutions. Thank you for inspiring us. And thank you for making the Africa Forum on Displacement. Thank you to all of you that came from far. And thank you to our government representatives. I don't think speakers. And let me see if I forgot someone else. Thank you to our moderator. And then there's always a team that's behind such an event. The people that you don't see. The people that have been running around Africa at UNHCR, Amahoro Coalition, and Inkomoko, to please stand up. Thank you. Thank you for making sure we were where we are, we were well fed, we had a good room. And to our most amazing event organizer, Flawless Events, Yoaden and your team. Yoaden, thank you. The rest of it, and she's carried our vision and really delivered it for us. Thank you. Thank you so much. And really, thank you to our sponsors and our partners. Mastercard Foundation and the Conrad Hilton Foundation. Thank you for believing in this vision and really supporting us. And even happen. Thank you for that. And thank you to the co-conveners. It's been a pleasure working with you. I think the only thing I'll say to the co-conveners, I'll try and convince them that for the next time we should have the gala dinner on the last day. That's my feedback. And so that is it from us. Thank you. The Africa Forum, the second Africa Forum on Displacement, Accra, Ghana, is officially closed.